Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. And I just had this small topic on my mind to do a very quick discussion video about. I've noticed that here on the Sunshine Coast, a lot of these new businesses, local businesses and whatnot, have the word bay in their name. I'm not going to mention the particular businesses. I thought of doing like a montage of the logos and whatnot. But I'm not going to do that because a lot of these businesses are perfectly fine. They're great. They're good companies ran by good people and have good product, all that sort of stuff. Nothing personally against any of these people. But there's a lot of businesses that use the word bay in their name. And even if it's not in the name, it's in the tagline, you know. Come enjoy our authentic whatever cuisine beside the beautiful bay or whatever, things like that. And that's great. I guess the name rolls off the tongue easily. There's not lots of other, you know, water lingo, I guess, coastal lingo that rolls off the tongue in such a unique way. But it's so wrong in the sense that as somebody who's grown up here on the coast, I wanted to do this video with like an ocean background around me, but I didn't really have the means to get down to Lower Gibson, so the forest will have to do. But growing up here on the coast my whole life and spending a lot of time in different coastal areas, and believe me, I'm no expert in all of this stuff. There's people out there that I know that could talk and run circles around me as far as knowledge on these sorts of things due to their line of work and their hobbies and what they do. But basically it goes like this. Lower Gibson's, the Sunshine Coast on the whole, is not a bay. Actually, out towards Seashelt there's a place called Davis Bay. That's about the only legitimate bay that I can think of that's actually, you know, a real bay. But Lower Gibson's, all of that, it's a strait, and it goes something like this. So a bay is a piece of land, usually with a docking station, something like that, surrounded by a large body of water, usually in a circular sort of shape. And it's usually connected to open ocean. So there's a circular piece of land, a large body of water that you can come in from open ocean into, dock your boat, whatnot, and then beyond that gap, as it would be called, there's basically open ocean. A sound, like it is, I spent a lot of time down in Howe Sound, is basically an inlet, but the islands and the nearest shoreline is wider than what would be a normal inlet. And then a strait is basically a thin, narrow passage of water between two other larger bodies of water, in which allows the water to flow freely, basically creating a small passage channel of water that flows freely between two other bodies of water. It's basically a current system, I guess, if you look at it that way. None of which are bays. So Lower Gibson's is a strait, Howe Sound is a sound. The only legitimate bay is Davis Bay. And the main point of this, and there's other things too, like there's a fjord, there's an inlet, which is, like I said, basically the same as a sound, but a sound is a little wider between the two land masses. An inlet basically is a very narrow passage of all sorts of clustered islands and shorelines and whatnot in a very, very thin sort of fashion, and there's usually other little passages that goes up in between other islands and whatnot. And sometimes if you travel a long distance you can get out to open sea through some of the other side passages, but generally an inlet, if you were to take it straight, ends. There's some, like on Vancouver Island, and that if you look at them from an aerial view, it almost looks like they cut right through to the other side of the island back out to open sea again, but they don't. They end at some point, even if it's just one small, you know, cluster of rocks connecting, you know, the one island, two sides of the island together. It will end at some point in which you cannot get through to the other side. But so this is all very innocent. I think really at the end of the day these businesses are just using the name because, like I said, nothing else, none of the, like a Sound, a Strait, a Fjord, an Inlet, all that sort of stuff, none of them have names that roll off the tongue very nicely for the name of a restaurant or the name of a business of any kind like that. So it makes perfect sense. I think most of it is just simply because of that, it just innocently, and a lot of times it's very much innocently. A lot of times they're newer to the coast, whatnot. They don't know the lingo of things as well as somebody who grew up here or has been here for a long time would. But so nothing against these people or these businesses at all whatsoever. It's either just convenience of title or it's just innocent naivety. But you know, if you think about it, there's something to think about in this, because a lot of times the small things bleed over into the big things, and this could be used as just a metaphor for a larger point, that if you have a whole bunch of people all coming to one area, all settling and living in one area, and they don't understand the nature of the area that they live in, that could be a problem. That could be something to think about. That could be something to nip in the bud while it's early. And something as simple and innocent and doesn't really cause any harm to anything, like this concept that I'm talking about as a metaphor, the idea of it could translate over to, you know, the big things. What if something big was going on? What if the efforts to solve certain environmental concerns around here are wrong and false, or could be, even if they're not flat out wrong, they could be adjusted in a lot of ways, simply because a lot of the people who have congregated here in the past 10 years aren't fully aware of the nature of the area that they live in. So that's it. That's just a simple little discussion video, just an idea, but think about it, ponder it. I'd love to hear your comments down in the section down below, and yeah, it's just something to think about. Thank you very much.